When you go on that losing streak and then lose to the Carolina Panthers in that fashion, it's a results-based business. Number one, injuries derailed the start of this team. They lost interior offensive linemen. Derek Carr got hurt. Their perimeter weapons, Olave, Rashid, Shaheed, were big losses. The salary cap is real. For everyone who doesn't think it is, it's real. This is the walking example in our league right now of how impactful just constantly kicking the can down the road with the salary cap is. This is years in the making that they were going kind of all in, the back end of Drew Brees all in, constantly kicking. This team is $89 million over the cap for next season already.
Wow.
So this is a bad situation when it comes to trying to find a rebuild, not only as your head coach, but as you remake your roster. I'm not surprised with the way that they were playing, with the loss to Carolina, and just the way the situation it sits talent-wise is not a good one in New Orleans.
Tell him, Dan Orlovsky, the roster construction of the Saints is flawed. Dennis Allen is flawed. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about what the Saints didn't tell you about Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen finished his coaching career with a 26-53 win-loss record. Dennis Allen also managed to only have one winning season in 6 seasons as a head coach in the NFL. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Did the Saints make the right decision to fire Dennis Allen now? I'm going to say yes to that. I am normally not an advocate for mid-season firings, but this one is different. Dennis Allen absolutely deserved to get fired mid-season at his job. Matter of fact, he should have been fired after last season. And I'll also take it a step further. He never should have been hired to begin with in the first place. The only reason why Dennis Allen got hired as the Saints head coach is because he had strong connections in the Saints organization. Nothing on Dennis Allen's resume suggested that he was head coach material, but Mickey Loomis, the Saints GM, decided that it was a good idea to defend Dennis Allen. He even went as far as to say that Bill Belichick had a bad win-loss record to start out his coaching career, which is a flawed argument in and of itself because Bill Belichick was coaching for the Cleveland Browns and also he won a playoff game for the Cleveland Browns. Mickey Loomis decided to hitch his wagon to Dennis Allen, which is a fireable offense in and of itself. I can't believe Mickey Loomis didn't even get fired for that move either, but that's what happens when you have a cheap owner in Gayle Benson who doesn't want to make change just for the sake of making change. Gayle Benson takes far too long to make her decisions. Another wasted season happened for the Saints despite having a pretty talented roster. Yes, I know that talented roster has a lot of injuries right now, but this is not a roster that should have the same record as the Carolina Panthers. Who is the Panthers' biggest star right now? Chuba Hubbard? Do most people outside of the Carolinas even know who Chuba Hubbard is? No disrespect to Chuba Hubbard, but there is no way that your team's best players should be Chuba Hubbard and should have the same amount of wins as the New Orleans Saints. You look how the Saints, they have a solid starting quarterback in Derek Carr. They have one of the best running backs in football in Alvin Kamara. They've got the Swiss Army knife Taysom Hill. They've got Chris Olave. They got Rashid at wide receiver too. Yes, I know he's out for the season right now, but he was a very good weapon for the Saints when healthy. And then of course you look at the defense that they have. They have Cameron Jordan. They have Demario Davis. They have Tyrann Mathieu. They have Marshon Lattimore. They have all that talent on the defensive end of the field, and they are 2-7. How is this Saints team over the salary cap by a lot? I think they're like over $80 million in salary cap right now. As far as what the New Orleans Saints didn't tell you about Dennis Allen, they didn't tell you that Dennis Allen was one of the worst head coaches to ever exist in the NFL. Dennis Allen didn't even win 1/3 of his games. You know how hard it is to be that bad in the NFL for that long? Dennis Allen achieved a feat that very few coaches have ever achieved at any level in the National Football League. It's one thing if you're a below 500 coach, but Dennis Allen won less than 33% of his games. That means Dennis Allen was a consistent loser. And of course, the Saints organization hitched their wagon to him, all because he was friends with Mickey Loomis and that he had been in the Saints organization for over 20 years. Because you guys got to remember that Dennis Allen used to be a longtime Saints assistant during that Super Bowl 44 run that they had many years ago. And then he came back for a second stint on the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, a lot of nepotism came into play, and Dennis Allen took advantage of that opportunity to become a head coach in the National Football League. He also got another chance to be a head coach in the NFL, even when he sucked on the Raiders. He was 8-28 as the Raiders head coach, but they still gave him an opportunity to be a head coach on the New Orleans Saints. And what did he do with the stacked roster that he had? Absolutely nothing. You look at how he has been given talent all over the place, and he didn't get the job done whatsoever. I also want to address what Stephen A. Smith said about Dennis Allen. I loved a lot of what he had to say about Dennis Allen. Roll the film.
When you see some of the talent that they have on this squad, there is no excuse for them to look as bad as they looked. You have players on the New Orleans Saints that are an abundance of coaches in this league would love to be coaching. And those very same players who we respect basically have indicated, look at the coaching. That's what they've done. That's what they've done, and they've never done it before. They certainly never did it in all the years that Sean Payton was there. I can tell you that much. So that's something that needs to be said about that. The man was not a great head coach.
That was truth. Stephen A. Smith spoke right there. Everything that he said about Dennis Allen was absolutely correct. Dennis Allen is one of the worst head coaches to ever exist in the NFL. In fact, I'm amazed that more people have not ripped Dennis Allen in the media. Dennis Allen did not do anything well as a head coach. Is he a motivator? No. Is he a disciplinarian? No. Is he a great X's and O's type of coach? Absolutely not. Dennis Allen doesn't really do anything well, and he failed to establish an identity with the New Orleans Saints. The biggest moment that I thought of Dennis Allen as the Saints head coach in a positive manner was when he quote-unquote ran up the score against the Falcons in a Week 18 matchup. But it turns out it wasn't Dennis Allen's decision to run up the score. That was Jameis Winston's decision to run up the score. And Dennis Allen decided to throw his players under the bus for running up the score instead of saying, you know what? I was the one that took the call. I was the one that wanted to put a stamp on this rivalry. Instead, he throws Jameis Winston under the bus. He blames the players for not following his instructions, and he basically avoided any kind of accountability whatsoever, which is the theme of Dennis Allen as a head coach. Dennis Allen ran from accountability quite often, and when you have a head coach that lacks accountability, what's going to happen to the locker room? You're going to lose respect for your coach, and obviously the Saints lost respect for Dennis Allen at the head coach position, which is why they are 2-7 despite having a loaded roster. I'm not saying the Saints roster should be a Super Bowl contender, but when you look at the talent that the Saints have, there is no reason not to expect this team to be a playoff contender. I personally didn't pick the Saints to be a playoff contender, but a lot of people thought the Saints were potential playoff contenders this year. And I know a lot of people were higher on the Saints the last 2 years. Either way, though, the Saints have not been a good team during the Dennis Allen era. They've effectively gotten worse each and every year with Dennis Allen as their head coach, and it is only going to get worse from here on out. Their salary cap situation is terrible. The general manager of the Saints needs to absolutely be fired. Gayle Benson needs to clean house if she is serious about the Saints becoming a contender in the NFC anytime soon. I know that Dennis Allen getting fired is the right step, but the job's not done yet for the Saints. They still have to make progress. Obviously, the locker room was lost for the Saints. Now they got an interim head coach. Hopefully for that interim head coach, he can manage to keep the locker room together and prevent that locker room from exploding. Had they kept Dennis Allen for the rest of the season, that Saints team would have won 4 games maximum. Yes, that's right. That loaded roster, the Saints would have gone 4-13 if Dennis Allen had stayed there the entire season. But now that they have an interim head coach, who knows? Maybe they end up winning some games. Maybe they end up with 5 or 6 wins. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they got a better chance of being a competitive team compared to if they had just kept Dennis Allen as the head coach of the Saints. The players lost all confidence in Dennis Allen. The fans already lost confidence in Dennis Allen a long time ago. And when you have that much confidence lost between the players and fans, moves have to be made, and Dennis Allen was rightfully fired. So that is why it was the right decision to fire Dennis Allen, as he was one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinAsTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinAsTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinAsTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content. that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.